What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of C.A.P. This is your host, JD, and what we're going to do today, we're going to cultivate.
What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your other host, Erica, and we're going to accumulate. And guess what? Together,
We're going
we
to
gonna prosper.
prosper, definitely. What's good, Miss Jackson?
Oh my goodness, You know what? Every time we get in here, I'm ready. I am ready. It's been I won't say crazy week. It's been a long week. It's been a long week, and I get in here and I'm ready to get this ball rolling. I enjoy this.
I do as well. I can attest to that it has been a long week, but we're here today, so let's get it started with the buzz.
What's buzzing? What's buzzing?
First buzz topic we have is Memphis. We have a new mayor, Paul Young,
Yes.
and he is 44 years old. The brother has not held political office before, but he's done a lot of things within the city. So the city's looking to go into a new direction. What are your thoughts about that?
First, let me say, because one day Paul is going to be looking at this. Paul, congratulations. That's first and foremost. I was very excited to see that he won. Not just because he's an East High alumni, you know what I'm
okay.
saying? You know, we talking about East High here, I'm just saying. But not just because of that, and his sister graduated from high school with me, but I love what he has been doing in the city of Memphis. He's been the CEO and the president, I believe it's called the Downtown Commission.
Okay.
And I do know they're looking for somebody to head that up, but he's been really big about the city's development. You know, being able to see Memphis develop. Memphis is a great city. And we can be just like, as this lady, Amber Boyd says, the new Hollywood. We can be that. And I feel like we have just the person that we need to help us get on the right track for that. So I'm excited.
I'm glad he was someone that I did vote for. I don't usually disclose who I vote when I do, but it's just time for a new direction. Memphis is a predominantly African-American city, but we get a lot of slight for the crime. But, I mean, crime is happening everywhere.
Exactly.
Now, even though I'm not originally from here like you are, I've been here since 2006 when I moved here from Florida, so I consider myself a transplant. But Memphis is more than just Elvis and barbecue.
I promise.
Yeah, it's more than just that. So I look forward to Mayor Young doing some big things, and hopefully we may be able to see if we can get him on the cap.
That will be the business.
Yeah, that would be nice. Second buzz topic.
Man.
Miss Jada Pinkett Smith has made some comments before her book gets ready to drop on the 17th. And I'm going to let you give your take on it before I say what I need to say.
You see, I'm shaking my head already, right? Like, you see, I'm shaking my head. You know, they say SMH. I'm shaking my head. Don't get me wrong. Let me say this. Jada is a beautiful person. You know, she has always been so beautiful. I loved her in Different World. I've loved the show
most
she's
definitely
been in. Wonderful actress. And as she gets older, she is still beautiful. Beautiful person. I'm saying the good stuff first. Let me set the stage. But this was shocking to me. I look at the infamous slap. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you have a man who literally was defending you. And that changed me with Jada a little bit, even back then. Because you had someone who's defending you and you never said anything. You never tried to stop him. You know what I'm saying? And now this man can't do the Oscars for 10 years defending you. And you're separated from this man? You've been separated from this man. Jerry, you might have to take over because the more I talk, it's aggravating to me. How? Just how?
Well, it's like this, and we're I'm gonna say this, and then we'll move on from this.
Please.
You know, I never talk about other people's relationships because it's not a one size fit all. Like, people tend to want to make it. but just her infatuating comments about my guy Tupac. He's not here to defend himself. And, she has 2 kids by will. And we all know this, but it's just something had to happen. I'm not excusing it.
Right.
There's got to be some scoring factor there, because there's no way you will continue to embarrass somebody that you've been married to and had 2 kids with, and just for the sake of to sell a book or attention. But regardless of the fact, to say all this now, it's one of those things where why bring this out? Just bring your book out, but why say all of this? Because look how it's making him appear, and even if he's co-signing off it, which we don't know, he hasn't spoken. His personality is different than hers, but it's just, people are kind of getting tired of it, unless it's people who are messy that want to be up in folks' relationship or whatnot. But I just hate that it's come down to this. I hope that that they can move on from it. From my understanding, she keeps saying that divorce is off the table. So I don't know what this arrangement they got is, but what works for them works for them. But we just tired of hearing the negative stuff about it. Just let it be. Just if you all are living separate lives and you still do your business together, so be it. But to put it out there, and this is why I used to caution people back in the day when they were like, relationship goals. Will and Jada, I was like, you don't know what's going on with them folks.
Exactly.
And I used to say that to some friends, and they used to like, Jada, you so crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not. You really don't. We do that with people, and we never know what's going on behind the scenes with people. So
that's it.
Even people in our everyday lives, pastors or other folks that we see, it's cool to want and desire something that someone has together, that they're working together. That's no problem. But when you start coveting what folks have, you don't know what could be going on behind the scenes. So I'm just retired of hearing this. I know that I am, and hopefully, that we can just move past this, because from the summer of the entanglement to the slap, now this is like, come on, let's just get on with this. So, but on another note, like I said, today is a great day. We have a very special guest here. She is the author of 2 books, Leading with Feet, Making Intentional Steps to Live Out Your Best. Also a book, Roadmap to Success, Moving from the 95 Who Fail to the 5 Who Succeed. This sister is a CEO of Vision Strategy Management. She's a podcast host of Women with Grit. She's a graduate of Johnson & Johnson Global Leadership Development Program, a Florida State alumni, National Society of Black Engineers she's affiliated with, as well as the Network of Executive Women. All the way from Atlanta, where it's the land of the peaches, we have a Florida orange tangerine here today, Miss Charelle Lans.
Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. And by way of the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands.
Okay. I hear what you're working with. We're really glad to have you here.
Definitely glad to have you here. So besides some of the things that I said, what are some of the things you can tell us about you that besides what I stated?
Oh my gosh. So many things. But one of the things I want to start with is I am the proud mother of a 12-year-old young entrepreneur.
Okay.
And we had the pleasure actually of speaking to Talladega College yesterday about his business. So that is exciting, just kind of seeing the seeds that you sown kind of sprout forward. So that's exciting. So he's doing that. And yes, thank you so much. I do have an organization, Vision Strategy Management. I have another organization called Charelle Lans, where we do publications, speaking engagements, training, development, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. That leads a segue to something I wanted to ask you. I know that you because we're Facebook friends and social media friends, and I met you 5 years ago at a award ceremony here in Memphis. And since you are a businesswoman, I know that you was a mother of a son, I was going to ask you, how did you influence him with the entrepreneurial spirit? So
yeah, so that's one, right? I truly believe in generational wealth and generational leadership. And with my son, he's been right there with me. So I am a single mom, have been for now 12 years, I guess. No, 11 years, 10 years, somewhere around there. And Dad is very active in his life. However, one of the things is that he's, since he's been with me, he's been a part of this journey and things of that nature. And so being back this year, he's right there with me. So he's kind of seen a lot of it. And the space of what he knows about mom is, mom's, in front of the camera. She kind of does these things, but I pull him along. And I do believe in being very intentional in teaching him life skills and the entrepreneurial journey, just because there's a specific kind of grit that you have to have in order to even be in that space. I see you smiling.
I am.
Yeah.
The reason why I am is because I get excited. I'm really big about the youth.
Yes.
Two of my biggest things going in the past has been the youth and theater, and now I've been delving more into the business arena, but those still in the forefront. And even one of the ways we connected was me doing a youth leadership coaching program last year, because I did a youth leadership boot camp years ago, and I loved it. They have a master's in leadership now, so I'm really big on that, and really big on teaching the youth about leadership and entrepreneurship. So to hear you say that and how you are with your son, and he's able to actually see, what this world is like. I'm going to get to my question, but that just did something to me, because when we are going to school, they're like, you're supposed to go to college, you get married, you have this ultimate dream, and you get a great job. Then
what?
Job. You hear me saying job?
I do, yes.
But some people aren't made for a job. So I love the fact that you're molding him now for that other side, so he can see what the business world is like too.
Exactly.
But that was just dear to my heart, the strong. But in that, there are like so many people who have always wanted to start a business. I myself had the thought of doing this conference and doing this stage play, and I had it in me for 14 years. And so before I even did anything. So my question for you is many people who start a business and everything, and they start it normally because through hurt, through pain, or because they lost a job and they have to do something, so it's a hustle. What prompted you to start yours?
Okay, so interestingly enough, I never saw myself as someone that wanted to become an entrepreneur. It just wasn't something that was on my mind. And in 2008, I had an experience while I was I had a rocket on my back. I was doing very exceptionally well in corporate America. Young African-American woman engineer, typically one and only in many subsets. And I learned how to navigate that space. But while I was working in corporate, one of the things that I always say is you can't control someone else's bias. And I came across someone that had a strong bias against me being in this leadership position and role and just kind of, thriving. So he kind of inherited me. Well, what he was really determined to do from the very first day, and I can say this definitively because he said it directly to me, is that he said, I don't believe that you belong to be here. And why can't I be where you are? Literally said that to me. And, in my young space, I said, okay, well, I'll show you, right? Because my work ethic was really strong. And I just had the confidence and belief that my skill sets were enough. That was the first, I learned a lot in that season, and I'm grateful for it. It's one of those experiences worth having. I wouldn't say it was worth repeating. But he tried really, really hard to remove me out of that position. And I remember one day waking up at 4 a.m., in the morning, and I was just stuck. And I remember sitting in bed and I was crying and I was sobbing because the realization had set into me that no matter what I did, no matter how good I performed, that I felt that this person, because of the bias that they had, which had nothing to do with me, was going to have an impact on my livelihood. But that was the day that the entrepreneurship mindset was birthed in me.
Wow.
Because for me, it was the space of realizing that I wanted to be in control of my livelihood, and I wanted to be able to continue to take a bet and a chance on myself, especially if all these other organizations were able to do so. Now, God had a ram in the bush. He wasn't successful in trying to remove me and everything like that. That's a whole nother story about how God moves in my life. But that is when it was born. And then the next couple of years, the next 5 years for me was cultivating the purpose.
Come on.
And being able to recognize exactly how I wanted the manifestation of what God placed on the inside of me to spring forth. But that's the nature of how it was birthed. And then there was some time in between before, like you said, it was inside of you for 14 years. For me, I was under the dirt for a very long time. And we shy away from the dirt, but there's richness in the dirt and the quiet moments and the solitude moments of life, because that's where the shaping of the vision happened, long before anyone ever saw it. And then 5 years later, I decided to ink it on paper and then continue the manifestation of what became VSM.
That manifestation, that's my word. And cultivating too. That is amazing. But sometimes they do say that sometimes God will make you uncomfortable where you are.
A firm believer in it.
To get you to move forward. That's amazing.
Yes. And I think sometimes we limit our potential on the basis of what we think, but God has to stir us up. He has to continue to shift us sift us in order to shift us to elevate. So,
absolutely true.
That is true. What you're saying, everything you just said, it makes sense. I can relate to that in my own life. I know I'm sure Erica can.
I can.
So, what I wanted to ask you was, like I said before in the introduction, you're author of 2 books.
Yes.
What was your motivation in writing those books, and which one do you hold dearest to your heart?
I would have to say Leading with Feet. So I'm a big believer that, sometimes we shy away from the uncomfortable moments in life, but I believe that character is built, when we're pushed beyond the space of comfort, as you mentioned. So Leading with Feet was born again at 4 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. I set my day with intentions. And at that particular day, 4 a.m., I got up from my prayer time, and I had this visualization of a woman by the name of Sue that lived in Singapore. And Sue was walking through the airport. She was distraught. Her makeup was smeared. She was dealing with something heavy, and she was wrestling with this thing. And as she was walking through the airport, she passed down the hallway, and there was this beautifully lit bookstore. And inside of the bookstore was an open shelf for a book. And she paused in the moment of dealing with all that heaviness, and she simply admired the white lights, the rhinestones that lined the side of the casing. And she said, "Wow, I wonder what book will go there." And then she turned and she kept walking, and all of that heaviness returned. And in that visualization, it was the moment that I realized that the book that was trapped on the inside of me wasn't for me. What if Sue had that book on that shelf? Or what if in that moment that she was walking in Singapore, a space that I may never come to actually get to? I may never meet Sue. But if that book was there for her, what would it have done to her life? That lit a fire up under me. And it lit a fire under me to get everything that was locked into me out of me. Because for me, it was feeling like the reason why Sue couldn't get what she needed was because I was operating from a place of selfishness and not wanting to get it out and get it on a shelf. So to your question, the inspiration for me in writing Leading with Feet was getting it out to Sue, was being able to move beyond all of these challenging circumstances that I had encountered in life in such a way that I could now share it with those people who I may never get a chance to meet. So that one has a really special place in my heart for me.
Wow.
And I'm getting ready to unlock book number 4.
Come on.
Coming later this year. But I'm excited about it. Sometimes I kind of go away into a space of just preparation and working, and it's a cycle for me when I say releasing books, because the closer I get to that launch date, inherently I kind of want to pull it back in, but then I remember the Sue. I remember the Sues of the world, and they inspire me to continue to push.
That was so inspiring to me, with me working on my first book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a struggle, and I wouldn't say a bad struggle, because I've been trying to work on it at the same time as first when I was working on my play, and then at the same time that I'm working on a conference. And so it's like I had to stop, regroup, and God told me to give it that same attention that I gave to the play and that I gave to the conference, give it to this book. So it's not late. It's
right
not
on
late.
time.
There's a scripture that I love that says Habakkuk 2 and 3. There's 2 and 2, and there's 2 and 3. For the vision is for an appointed time.
That's right.
Though it tarries, wait for it. It will surely come. So it's coming.
That's right.
And it's just like you said, it's not just for me. Yes, I'm writing a book. Yes, you want to make money from it. But it's those people who God has for you to reach, the Sues, the people you don't even have a name for yet.
That's right.
But it's people just like Sue that's like, I need this. I need to know how to make it from detours to journey. Exactly. I need to know where my feet are going to lead me. You know what I'm saying? So that's amazing. Exactly. It's really inspiring. I'm a business person, but I've always been into nonprofits as well. So with all the nonprofits that you have had, what has been most challenging in having that nonprofit, and not only having it, but maintaining them?
What has been the most challenging in having it, I think, has been the space of, I wouldn't say that it's the vision. I wouldn't say that it's the space of even the people. The funding is there as long as you keep your foot on the pedal. And for me, it's been the space of being able to, because I believe in creating cycles of revenue through the space of organization, so that we're not always kind of relying on the grants and funding so much. It's been able the space to do that. To be honest with you, for me, it has been identifying the right person or people with the same level of connectivity to it to birth it. So, or to continue to work in it and continue to work on it. I've done a lot in the space of nonprofits. I sit right now on the board of 3 nonprofits. 3.
Wow.
Okay.
3 nonprofits right now. And they're all doing amazing things similar to you. It's either in the space of children, either in the space of women, or the space of STEM. I'm really passionate about STEM and continuing to see the advancement of people in that. And then the last one is really in the space of really helping people live their best life, regardless of their starting point,
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question directly.
You did. You did, and then some.
Okay.
And that's powerful that you sit on those boards. I'm sure, I don't know how many African-American women are on those boards that you're a part of, but I'm pretty sure that it's getting better than what it used to be, I'm sure. And for someone to look up to in that aspect, for some young lady. I know when I used to work in the school system, the young fellas and the young ladies, I would talk to them about, beyond just being in school, what is it you want to do? Me being a former athlete, I let some of the young guys, as well as some of the young ladies, know that everyone's not going to make it pro, but there's other things that you can do with your mind.
Right.
and use the internet and everything for something more than just entertainment, you know.
Exactly.
But what I wanted to ask you, since you're on C.A.P, we always ask questions related to the acronym. When I came up with this podcast, cultivate, accumulate, prosper. So I'm gonna ask you, what influenced you to cultivate your company vision, strategy, management?
What influenced me to cultivate vision, strategy, management? It has been, okay, so my degree is industrial engineering, very technical. Fortune 500 companies hired me to come in and grow their organizations. Largest business that I managed was $5 billion. So there was a space of technical expertise that I have, or that I had even then, that I have now. But when I look at our community, when I look at other small businesses, mid-sized organizations, the skill set that I have was also one that I feel like a lot of businesses lack, which is the ability to take this seed, manage the middle so that you can see the results. And for me, being able to see it forward, continue to pay, and my passion just for community and community as well, it was how can I take this skill set that I have, package it in such a way to help other businesses grow and thrive, and then reinvest it. So VSM, Vision Strategy Management, is exactly that. For me, it's purpose and execution through the space of taking that technical expertise, distilling it down in such a way that others can apply it. For me, it is so important to do that because, like you said, if we don't succeed in business, people start businesses either for the space of opportunity or necessity, right? I need to because something happened and I got to do something in order to stay afloat, stay alive, et cetera.
Right.
Or opportunity, oh, this would be a great idea. More often than not, it's on the side of necessity.
Yeah.
And what that means is we may have a technical expertise, but we may not have the space of the business side in terms of how to grow it the right way strategically, to know that I got to dip before I can lift. Those are things that, I had. And so for me, I recognize that if we don't succeed and if these businesses don't succeed, it's more than just a business that fails. Mouths don't get fed. Sometimes people put their home up, and then that turns into mental illness, which then leads to physical ailments. And so for me, the cultivating of vision strategy management was a necessity. It was necessary. It was necessary to do this so that I can reach more, and the company, which I now have 2 locations, that we can reach more people and we can change that trajectory.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's very interesting because it's so many people that look at that aspect. I want to start the business. I want to do this, and they're looking at the necessity of it, just as you said. And it's so much that they're not looking at. Like, you can have a business, but you have no clue on what it means to be a leader.
Yeah, that's right.
You have no clue on what it means on how to deal with other people.
That's right.
I've been put in situations. I had a job where I was at the front desk of a trucking company. So being there, I learned how to be able to talk to the truck drivers.
Right.
But I also learned how to be able to talk to the CEO and the president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can talk to both aspects. You have truck drivers coming in and they're having to come in there. You're having to deal with conflict because you're the first person that they see, and they're cursing. They're doing all this stuff, and you have to help diffuse them. And I learned that I know how. So that helps when you're starting a business. You have to look at every aspect because it's going to be a whole lot of stuff that comes in it. And you're going to have to learn how to deal with change.
That's right.
Because change is inevitable. I'm
yes.
sorry, I can go all day.
No, I'm with you. But, what I would add is not everyone, starting a business is not for everyone.
Exactly.
And I know it's trendy right now for everybody to want to start a business, but you have to be prepared.
Exactly.
You have to be ready. You have to know that some things are meant to be hobbies and they're not businesses, and that's okay. But you have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right attitude, like you talked about, the space of doing it, because it's different being singularly focused on, I'm just working on this one thing. And now when I start a business, I have to be concerned with the end to end.
Exactly.
I have to be concerned about my people.
Right.
I have to be concerned about the messaging and the metrics and how to measure success and knowing when to pivot. There's so much more to consider. And it's not that we should know everything, but to know that we need help. And being able to step outside to do so helps you to grow your organization. Right. That's where we help.
Now, with the accumulate question, had it in my mind to ask you a certain way. I'm going to change it around just a little bit. So people have accumulated, when they look at things that they have accumulated in business, they're looking at accumulated wealth, accumulating friendships, or so many things. What have you accumulated along this journey?
Starting a business in general. Oh, my relationships, I think, has been a very important one. Yes, wealth has occurred. I think wealth, the definition of wealth, people look at it as monetary. For me, it's a space of abundance that supersedes that.
Yeah.
The accumulation of wisdom, which I think is priceless, the experiences.
It is.
Those things, to me, when I think about what I have accumulated in VSM, the ability to transform lives, I think, is a space of accumulation. And those things are so important because you can always take a business, start a business, grow one, be successful in it, and then spin and do the next. But when you understand the space of wisdom and how to think through it, you have the opportunity to do and accumulate more.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it would be on the side of resources, relationships. Those things, I think, are priceless,
Wow.
And those things are very priceless, what you're saying. I, too, myself know about building relationships, even with people who I didn't think, we had nothing really in common per se outside of whatever the business or the venture was. But that's a part of growth.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you come from. I'm born Southside Chicago, father ex-Navy, lived in Florida, moved to Arkansas, finished high school, went to Tennessee State. Young father, became a father after graduating high school. So it is, people's backgrounds and journeys are different, but you never know along the way who you're going to come in contact with to build not only businesses, but just relationships, period,
Right.
So for the prosperous one, what out of all your achievements and accolades, what would you say has allowed you to prosper the most? Or is it a series of things, or is it, what would you say has allowed you to prosper the most?
State of being.
Okay.
I know that's loaded. And I say that simply because I think prosperity is more than just going back to the accumulation of things. I think prosperity is a way of being. It's being humble. It's being coachable. It's being teachable. It's the ability to learn. Like even within VSM, we only work with people who, or I'll say, put it this way. Our saying is we will not fight you to help you, right? So you have to be willing. You have to be open. You have to be in a space and a mindset to be ready to receive, but also ready to give and not just always taking. So when I think about the space of prosperity, it is the mindset and the way of being that continues to put me in front of rooms and people. It is coming in humbly, asking the question of what can I give as opposed to what can I get. It is the space of being able to say, here's how I can help and support. I talked about my son, and he did a speech yesterday to the Talladega College, the basketball team, right?
Okay.
Well, that's
And
what's up.
that was cultivated through relationships. That was, that came about through the space of giving. And I'm of the mindset that, whenever you go into a room or you step into a room, you ask yourself, what can I give, as opposed to what can I get, and or to be able to find and the ability to create a mutual win-win. I think those things lend itself to prosperity when people genuinely believe that you're there because you care, and because you genuinely do care, that it comes back into your hand. And so that whole cycle of reciprocity, when you give, it's going to come back to you. I can't hold it tight, because if I do, you can't get anything either. Got to be willing to give. You got to be willing to open your hand. Right. And so I think the more comfortable we are with that state of being, of opening our hand, the more we receive back. And that's what it's been for me. Just the ability to say, okay, well, how can I help? How can I support? And what can I give?
That's great, because that is true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That saying is so true. You hear it so often that it almost becomes like cliche, but it's so true. Mm-hmm. It's so true. They want to know that you care.
Yeah. I can think about, like I said, if I walk back through my journey, and I'm not here on a merit of my own. It's been organizations that's poured into me. It's been people who said, give Charelle a chance or raise a hand. I still had to step up to the plate, but it's been at the space of being able to, once the door is open, not only burst through it, but who am I pulling with me? Who am I tugging along the way? Yeah. And then not only that, the other thing is I feel like sometimes people get really concerned about, well, I'm going to pull you as long as you're behind me. No, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you ahead of me, and I'm going to say, go, continue to push, continue to climb. I don't see why there's any reason why, if we're working on the same thing, and I've accumulated a lot of years of experience, you shouldn't have to start here. You shouldn't have to start here. You should be up there. And it should be my business, my destiny, my desire to help continue to push you even beyond what I could have, cultivated, accumulated, or prospered in. So that's my thing, which is like, what do we do to continue to push to the next? Because there's no reason for us to repeat what we've already, gained.
You know what? We're going to have to make sure that we have a clip of you putting all three of those together. You know what I'm saying? Cultivate, accumulation, and prosper. We're going to need that.
I'm with it.
It's a basis of a whole commercial just with you on here.
Yes, I'm with it.
Well, definitely everything that you said has been eye-opening, great wisdom, and we see how you maneuvering with your business and how you influencing not only your son, which is a good thing, others.
Right.
And so definitely that is something is commendable. And you've always been someone I've admired as far as what you do and how you go about doing it. So.
Thank you.
So now we're at the segment of the show where we're going to have a little fun. Okay. So we got this segment called Top 5. Okay. And my top 5 that I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you my take, and then I'm going to ask you what's your take on it. So my top 5 is, what is your top 5 black rom-com movies? We know we're heading towards the holiday season.
Just 5? Okay.
Yeah. So that means, because I'm synonymous with the number 5. That was football number. My first 2 books, 5 Dimensions of a Man, came out of high school in 95. My very first apartment was apartment A5 in Madison, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville. So, and 5 is a number of grace, so I'm synonymous with the number 5.
Okay.
All right. So top 5 black rom-com movies. I'm gonna give you mine, not in any order. Don't have to be in any order, but just 5. The Best Man, Brown Sugar, Love Jones, Boomerang, and Jumping the Broom.
Okay, so you got 3 of my top 5. So Love Jones, The Best Man, Brown Sugar, Thin Line, which is another, like Martin Lawrence, I feel, definitely did that as well. And, oh my God, who am I going to put up there for the last one? I'm going to co-sign on Thin Line. That was a good one.
So Love Jones, Brown Sugar, Best Man.
In no particular order, yep.
Yeah. Thin Line. You said Thin Line twice. So what would be
I
the
said
fifth?
Thin Line twice?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Okay. And let me see. I guess it's really not a Temptations. I'm gonna go with that. A little bit of love in that, but more music. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that was interesting. Before I get into my top 5 segment, let me say Boomerang. Big Eddie Murphy fan. Sorry. Best Man, especially the Best Man final chapter.
Yes.
Love that one, but all of the Best Men are wonderful. Thin Line, Brown Sugar. I got to see that they just said, was it 21 years?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Yeah, for Brown Sugar.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Love Jones as well.
Did I say Love and Basketball?
You did not.
That's okay. All right.
But that's a good one.
That would be your one instead of Temptation, Love and Basketball?
Yeah,
okay.
Love and Basketball.
Gotcha.
Okay. So top 5 books. That's interesting, being that all of us, well, you two are authors. I'm an upcoming author, so this is a great one. 5 books. I love Purpose Driven Life.
Yep.
So that's in there. I'll take any one of John Maxwell books. I probably can put all of his books right there, because that was my start into leadership with John Maxwell. Let me see. I loved it's been like so many books that I've read, and I've been like missing in action with reading some of these books. So those are 2. I have loved reading, most of them must have been John Maxwell. So most of them, I would say probably 4 of those are probably John Maxwell, then Purpose Driven Life, because I have been really, really big on that. 7 Habits.
Highly Effective.
Highly Effective. I love
Stephen
that one.
Covey, yeah.
And then, of course, it was kind of hard to think when I was thinking of these, because I'm a big fan of John Maxwell, as I said. But it's also been some local authors of like books that I have read. So
that's awesome. Okay, favorite top books are hard for me because there's so many amazing ones. So I'm going to do authors, if that's okay. Deepak Chopra. He is okay. Yep. So Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I read a bunch of stuff from a wide array, and Dr. Wayne Dyer is more on the side of how do you live a meaningful life. And he has a clip about it's called The Shift, and he talks about the morning of life and the afternoon of life, moving from success to a place of significance is what I call it. I'm with you on John Maxwell. I like him. I like C.S. Lewis as well, Christian author.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Priscilla Shirer is another great one. Man, there's just so many amazing authors and books. From the business side, Lean In with Sheryl Sandberg was a good one. There's another good one called it's Simon Sinek's, and all of Simon Sinek's books are really good. How Great Leaders Inspire Action. That's not a book, but it's about cultivating your why. And The Essentialist is a really good book, or The One Thing.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, those 2 were really good books on the space of productivity. And I'm sorry, one more, and I know this is way more than 5.
Oh, no, that's fun.
Tony Robbins, man, I could go on. Tony Robbins is, another amazing author. His book, Awaken the Giant Within, really, that broke something early on for me in my life and in my career. And, Earl Nightingale. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. But that one is a bit challenging for me to find authors I love to read, and I read a wide array of things. Yeah.
I can feel you on that, though, because even with John Maxwell, and that's been like so many years ago, like in 2004, I was introduced to him when I was doing my youth leadership boot camp. And I was like, that was my start into loving leadership. It's part of the reason why I got a master's in leadership and everything,
He's
just
right.
being able to be so inspired, because books inspire you.
Yes, they do.
They do. Wow, that was great.
Okay.
I'm hearing.
Like quite a few books because I read myself. I know there's a myth that a lot of brothers don't like to read, but that's totally false.
You can't say your own.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. But not in any particular order. But I like The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. I also like The Way of the Superior Man by David Dieter. I'm back rereading that book because I've read it many times, but I always tend to, there's something I always get from it. The Autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley, because I'm a huge Malcolm X fan, and his life and what he did for our people. Think and Grow Rich is another one. And I also like the book, even though I'm not of this religion, but it's a help for all black men in America, The Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad. I just like anything that's going to help cultivate us as a people, as a culture, to move further and move from where we've been to where we're trying to go. And, when I mentor the young guys or anybody, I always try to impart in them that it's more than one way to get to the top, and you don't have to follow a certain particular script they try to push, narrative they try to push on us. So, but there's a variety of books that I read, whether they're business motivated, personal self-help, spiritual, but I would just say those are 5 that influenced me heavy. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So.
Great. Listen, for our viewers, right now, while you are watching, and you all know what I'm going to say, so you might as well go ahead and look at that little box. You see it? As you're watching, you see that little box right there. It says subscribe. Click on that box right there, right now. Go ahead. I'm giving you a second. See, didn't it feel good? Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And time for our banana peel. So, before we get into that, make sure that you send your questions in to thecappodcast3@gmail.com. That's thecappodcast3@gmail.com.
Keep sending us those questions, people.
Come on, because we have some good ones, and we have a good one for you today. So let's get into it. I'm 34 years old, and will be getting married for the first time in March 2024. I want to have the wedding of my dreams. My parents aren't able to pay for something extravagant, so I asked my fiance to co-sign on a loan with me to get the wedding of my dreams, but he refuses to do that. I'm not trying to be selfish, but I feel like no one wants me to be happy. Am I wrong? And this is coming from Felicia in Raleigh, North Carolina. You want to tackle that, Jerry, or you want me?
Ladies first always, then I'm going to give my take on it. So go ahead.
Okay. So Felicia, I'm not going to say you're wrong. What I am going to say is think about so many aspects of getting married. I have never been married myself. However, I look at the aspect of this is the wedding, but after the wedding, you're going to have the marriage. So I think that it would be good to get with your fiance. And if he's not happy with actually co-signing a loan, maybe together you can come up with a good plan of something that can still make it a wedding that you can really be happy with, that you can both be happy with. A lot of times we look at the bride, and I'm a woman myself, so I understand. And it's a lot of times we're thinking about what we want, but you are getting ready to embark on a whole new life with another person. So think of that other person too and the life that you want to build. So of course you're looking at the wedding, but you're looking at the life that you want to build as well. So building that together, and in building that together, maybe you can continue to talk to each other and come to a compromise to where you won't have a wedding that could possibly, because so often it brings you into debt. And of course, we don't want to have debt going into the marriage. So talk to each other and see if you can come to a compromise that can help both you and him and still give you the wedding of your dreams.
Oh, that's a good point you made, Erica. Okay. Let me try to peel back this banana. First of all, I want to say bye, Felicia.
He was waiting for that.
Yeah, but now for real, let's just look at this. I get it. I know as a woman, that's something that a lot of women desire to do. You're 34 years old, so you're not in your 20s. I'm not saying that you're old, but you're not in your 20s. So I get it. You want the wedding of your dreams, but you're to me, it's one thing to be focused on the ceremony and not the covenant and the commitment, which is the marriage itself.
Right.
There's a lot of women, regardless whether they're your age, younger, or older, that would love to be in your shoes to be getting married to someone who wants to love them and commit to them for the rest of their lives. So I'm not saying that, I understand that you want to have the wedding of your dreams, but be grateful for the fact that you have someone who wants to commit to you in that way, not string you along,
Exactly.
And all the other things that happens in life. And, you don't want to put that strain on your parents if they're not able to pay for something big. And then it seems like your fiance, I don't know his name or whatnot, but he seems to be smart to not want to just let's get into some debt over a ceremony. I haven't been married myself, but I got plenty of friends who are. And I have two siblings who are, and I'm the oldest. And folks and family always ask me, so I'm like, when I come across the one I'm supposed to come across. But I would say this, ceremonies, different people want different types of ceremonies. But in my case, if I were in the process of getting married, a small ceremony with close friends and family, a nice reception, and then we're going to have a bomb honeymoon for 7 days. And we're like, cooling the game. We're going to get down on it. But honestly, rethink this. Don't try to go in debt just because you have this ideal view of what type of big extravagant wedding. Like the biggest thing is not the ceremony per se, but the commitment and covenant.
Right.
And it's not that anybody don't want you to be happy. I'm sure that's not the case. Your parents are probably glad that their daughter's about to get married. Your fiance, you're the woman of his dreams for him to even want to commit to you, to marry you. So look at it from that perspective. But if you're only going to look at it from how the society says, you need to have this type of wedding and girl, this and that, you're missing the point. So hopefully you will realize this, and you can still have a nice wedding. It just will be a wedding, within a smart budget, and then enjoy, your honeymoon before you come back to the reality of life. Because once you get back, now you are with someone else, and you all got to do life together. So we want to ask our guests, what is your take on this?
I think I agree. Not even I think. I agree wholeheartedly. Felicia is her name, right? Which is the space of, ask yourself why would you want to get married to begin with? And then to your point, you don't want to go into a union accumulating debt on the, just up front, because what about the house? What about, life after, and the ability to pour into that? I don't think that it's a measure of your happiness. I would tell you, Felicia, dig within and know that your happiness comes from the inside out, and the things that you see on the outside are a reflection of what goes on the inside. And so define your happiness that way. I don't think that it's a measure of your family not wanting you to be happy. Congratulations on your wedding. But also to the points that have already been made, it's really a physical representation of the love that is embodied and shared between two people, and kind of lean into that. That'd be my thought.
Okay.
Great thought.
Well, you have heard some great responses. So, Felicia, we hope that you would take heed to this advice and just enjoy the fact that you are about to make a step that so many take for granted, and some people would desire, some don't. But, whichever the case may be, just don't look at it as no one wants you to be happy, and look beyond just the ceremony, because life is you got to live life after this. So it's the commitment and the covenant that's going to really be what entails with marriage. And I have plenty of friends who are married, and they let me know, like, it gets real after the wedding day from that point on. So definitely wish you the best, and congratulations on your future nuptials that are coming in the new year. So now we have had a great show today. We've had a great guest here with Charelle. So this is the moment we allow you to tell our listeners to give your social media handles and how they can get in contact with you, to do business with you, and anything else that you would like to share at this time.
Okay. So you can find me on all forums at Charelle Lans, CharelleLans, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me on any and all of those forums. You can also find my business at www.visionstrategymanagement.com. Reach out. Let me know that you are a listener of the C.A.P podcast, and I'll make sure that we do an assessment for you. Free of charge to your listeners that actually come on the show. So if you have a business and you're thinking about, how do I assess it? How do I know if it's healthy? How do I know the nature of my organization? Go on to visionstrategymanagement.com, drop us a link, drop us an email, let us know that you are a listener of the C.A.P podcast, and we'll be sure to give you a free complimentary business assessment. And then just follow me online. Check us out, CharelleLans.com. Be sure to go there. And my last little nugget that I would, continue to say is live your best, give your best, and live limitless. Know that you are in control of your destiny, your trajectory, and the ability to continue to transform lives. So don't limit yourself. Live your best, give your best, and live limitless. Thank you.
I like that.
That was powerful. You heard it, people. So to all our listeners, there's a free consultation with her and her business. So definitely, we thank you for that. We don't take that slightly. Thank you for that.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Listeners, you got it right there. Free. Y'all know y'all like free. Listen, I want to thank you again for coming. You have definitely inspired me. So it's been a joy actually meeting you. Hopefully in the future we can connect on some other business aspects as well. So it's been amazing. Our listeners, now it's coming to that wonderful segment. You guys, it's the Detours moment. Okay. And so where we're coming with that is this. Don't let, and yes, I'm saying, your stinking thinking keep you from moving forward. Let me say that again. Don't let your stinking thinking keep you from moving forward. Your stinking thinking, your thinking is your detour. I'm not good enough. I don't have the money to do it. Nobody's going to listen to me. What if it doesn't work? It's a whole lot of negativity that you're feeding into your brain, and it's keeping you from moving forward. Stop doing that. What if it does work? What if they do listen to you? You then, not only will you be moving forward, but you will be able to help others move forward as well. Don't let your thinking be your detour.
That's a great words of wisdom for the detour moment. So now we're here for the brain drop. And the brain drop today is many put on their representative, but they're not servicing the customer. I'm going to say that again. Many put on their representative, but they're not servicing the customer. This is not only from a business aspect, this can be from a personal aspect as well. People put on a representative to try to attain something or get at something, but if your representative is not true to who you are, you will be doing a disservice to who you're supposed to serve, whether it's from a business aspect, from a relationship that's personal, or what have you. So just think about that when you're out here and you're interacting with people from an entrepreneurial standpoint, at your job, or in your personal relationships, family, significant other. Many put on a representative, but they're not servicing the customer. Be a good customer service rep. Always give good customer service in the form of your integrity, as well as respect, as well as love. Be genuine with it. So that is the brain drop for the day. Once again, we have had a great show. Thank you to our guest, Charelle, who came all the way from Atlanta to be our guest today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And like always, before we end it, I want to tell you, if you're going to be anything in life, be for real. This is JD.
And this is Erica.
And we'll see you next time on C.A.P.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.